Welcome back. Eskom says the conclusion of a new wage deal with workers does not mean that load shedding will come to an end immediately. On Tuesday, the utility reached that agreement with unions, bringing an end to a strike that Eskom has blamed for an escalation of blackouts to stage 6. Meanwhile, the South African Union of Students says it's concerned about the ongoing power cuts, currently on stage 4, by the way, which the union says all has a negative impact on the ability of students in this country to study. Let's speak to its spokesperson, Asive Dlanjwa, spokesperson for the Union of Students in South Africa. Good to have you on, Asive. So talk to us about the implications then of ongoing load shedding on you and how you have now had to make changes to the way in which you study.
Good afternoon, Thembekile, to you and your viewers, and thank you for having us. Thembekile, I think we must start from the premise that before our students are students, they are members of community. So the impact that the load shedding has had generally on communities has also been felt by students, but more so by our students, particularly those that come from rural and township backgrounds, who are largely backgrounds, poor backgrounds and working class backgrounds. The reality of the matter is that for the students that are coming from particular rural areas and townships, electricity in those places, sometimes irrespective of the stage, sometimes goes out from 6 to 8 hours. This has been absolutely so devastating for them for many reasons. The first one is that they are not able to charge their devices because electricity can be gone literally for the whole better part of the day. Secondly, that for as long as there's no power, the internet connection is compromised. And as a matter of fact, they are not able to participate in online activities and online assessments for those that are participating through online mediums. And also, obviously, by the virtue of the fact that also there has been a huge increase in paraffin, a lot of them have written to us that they are not able even to afford that. And because there's no power, they are not necessarily able to be warm, wait, cold, make food, etc. And also they are not able to study because it's dark for the most part, especially during the night. So these are some of the challenges that our students have been facing, particularly from poor backgrounds.
Just on studying, Asive, am I right to say that some students are in fact still in the middle of exams at the moment?
As we speak with you, Thembekile, students are writing in many institutions their mid-year examinations. So it's not just general assessments that they are participating in. So you are 100% correct. They are supposed to be writing there. In fact, they are currently engaged in their mid-year examinations as we speak.
And universities, are they coming to the party? How are they helping? I know the standard features of a university. You've got the library, you've got the computer labs, I don't know what it's called these days, where you can go and get some work done. But is that enough?
There are universities, in fact, there's some universities we think have done relatively well in terms of being able to have backup power through generators, etc., such that at the very least in the examination halls there's power. But for studying, it's not necessarily enough because a lot of students study during the evenings, and some of them study at night. So because our universities are only able to accommodate less than 30% of students in student residences across the country, by the way, and across the 26 universities. So the vast majority of them, over 70% of them, either live at home or they live in private residences, which do not have the infrastructure that the universities would have. So for the vast majority of them, albeit those services are available in the institutions, those services are not available where they are living and where they are supposed to study. So for the majority of them, as I'm saying, unfortunately, they've not been able to benefit from what infrastructure could be available in those institutions.
You've also, in your statement, Asive, made a political call. Pardon me. You are calling for President Cyril Ramaphosa to basically get rid of the Eskom CEO as well as the Public Enterprises Minister, Pravin Gordhan. How much do you think that would fix, and why the two of them specifically?
It's more than a political. In fact, if anything, we don't even think it's a political call because it is a realistic and a substantive call that we are making. At the helm of the challenges that we are facing in the power utility lies the leadership, or rather the lack thereof, of Pravin Gordhan and Andre de Ruyter. The reality is that there is absolutely nothing material and substantive that they have done to bring the utility around. If anything, the utility is probably at its worst, at least as far as it is concerned as far as it concerns providing energy to the rest of South African citizens. It has been hugely, hugely compromised. And now it would be ludicrous for you to keep the same people at the helm and the utility is failing. We will not accept for any longer the fact that someone is going to be there for 2 or more years and things get worse and nothing seems to be getting any better. There has been absolutely no evidence or empirical evidence that suggests that there has been something about Pravin Gordhan or Andre de Ruyter that suggests that the utility is turning around for the better.
Well, the call for them to be fired, for them to resign, is not a new one. Other organizations have also made it. Those who defend them say, well, the problems at Eskom predate both men and that they're doing the best that they can with an aging set of infrastructure that no one can fix overnight. So even if they left, you wouldn't have uninterrupted power supply tomorrow or even by December. Do you find that to be an acceptable explanation for why firing them is not going to fix the problem?
It's unacceptable. It's unacceptable because as a country we have many structural challenges. Some of them that the government is responsible for, and some of them SOEs, etc. If we used that argument, it means that for everyone, including government, and where you see that there is inconsistency in this, it does not make sense that where you believe that government is failing in certain areas, you call for change of leadership. But in certain areas, no, we must accept the fact that this is an inheritance and a remnants of the past. We can't accept that. Let us, and why also we can't accept that, is that the utility has not always been as weak as it is under their leadership. The one common denominator between the weakness of, in fact, between what we're experiencing now is probably the weakest the utility as it has been. It has been under the leadership of Pravin Gordhan and Andre de Ruyter. So that is absolutely unacceptable. And we believe, honestly, that if the president cares even so slightly about the dignity and about the human rights of South Africans, that he will get rid of them, because this is beyond Tembegile. It's beyond students, it's beyond politics. The last weekend, I was in the rural areas, and the grannies were saying they have not been able to go and collect their chronic medication that they need to live, because they cannot afford the taxi fare to be able to go. So the reality is that the country is, their basic human right to health is now compromised. The basic human right to shelter, the basic human right to work, the basic human right to education is being compromised by what seems to be an ailing state of the economy. And the president needs to do something about it. He needs to bring us into confidence.
Wow.
Petrol cannot be almost 30 rand and no one is saying anything about it.
Some say the president is also part of the problem, and some say he too has not acted fast enough to resolve the energy crisis in this country, including the cost of living crisis, which is just now taking shape officially. But we know in South Africa, the cost of living crisis has been a daily reality for the poor for decades now. So if there's no action taken as far as what you are putting forward, what are you as the Union of Students willing or saying you will do about the situation?
We are engaging as we speak, and we are going to carry on to engage with other members of civil society. And if the president is not going to heed the calls, our calls which we make reasonably, we will be left with no other alternative but which is mass mobilization, as we saw in the past. Maybe it would be unfortunate that the only language that our government might understand is that of mass mobilization. So we will really be left with that and nothing else to take to the streets in the event that the president does not deal with this. And why is this important, Tembegile? And we wish the president can understand this, is that for as long as you are carrying on because effectively what government is doing is committing atrocities against the human rights and violating, and they have created its human rights violations against its citizens.
Okay.
Once you commit human rights violations against your citizens, they are going to revolt, and regrettably and unfortunately, we might find ourselves back into the unrest of July. And albeit though we condemn such criminal behavior, but when you commit crime against your people, the only thing that you are going to create a precedent, and you have create credence for people who are even opportunistic to bring this country to its knees through social and economic unrest.
And at what point, Asive, at what point would these protests that you're saying you are now discussing the possibility of, when would you make the decision on whether or not you're going to protest? Do you have a deadline, a date in mind?
Not necessarily, because we, with this one, unfortunately, unlike when we are dealing with issues just that affect directly the higher education sector, where we know exactly who are the stakeholders, there we would probably be able to give a determination. But the challenges we are speaking about are national challenges, and we're engaging with stakeholders across sectors, not necessarily in the higher education sector. So there are other partners whom we are speaking with who are currently, as we speak, engaging with certain segments of government, including the presidency. So we are hoping that from the engagements, because also we are not engaging in bad faith, we are not making the call to the president in bad faith, we are hoping that there might be some movement that will be made by the government to heed the calls of the public. But in the event that they are not, we will not be able to tell when that will be, when such an action would ensue. But we can say that that is definitely in the pipeline at a mass national mobilization level.
Asive Dlanjwa from the South African Union of Students, good to speak to you. Thank you.